Welcome back. Over the last 24 hours, there has been a lot of reaction to the performance of Canada's national anthem last night. The Tenors, a British Columbia-based vocal quartet, were performing in San Diego at the Major League Baseball All-Star Game when one of the group members changed the lyrics to Canada's national anthem. Well, we have an exclusive interview with two members of the group to talk about what happened last night and what happens going forward. You wanted it to be three members, but one of your fellow tenors, I guess, is on a plane right now.
Yeah, he's on his way here, but we just wanted to take this opportunity to apologize to everyone watching for the actions of one tenor, unfortunately, yesterday, who took it upon himself to take a political stand, and it was something he decided to do alone, as you can see from our statement. Every word's true. We wrote that very quickly after it happened, and we just want to apologize that our national anthem, unfortunately, that sacred anthem that we hold so dear, was compromised, and we don't stand by his actions, by Remigio's actions. He acted completely alone, and we just want to focus hopefully on other things going forward. But for now, we're just trying to deal with what I think we're still in shock a bit, and I think we're just thinking about our fans, our friends who have supported us for 10 years, our families. And so, yeah, it's maybe a bit of a challenging time for us, but we appreciate the opportunity to set the record straight. And we do encourage everyone to read the statement, because every word is true.
You guys have a lot of fans in Canada, in the United States, and beyond, but there are a lot of people who are maybe hearing about the group for the first time. I should introduce the two of you. Fraser Walter, you're from BC, went to UBC, grew up in the Vancouver area, and Victor McAuliffe, you grew up in the Toronto area.
That's right.
And so you heard that description. What's the last 24 hours been like for you?
Oh, it's been a living nightmare. You know, it was hard to sleep last night, thinking about everything. You know, we hold that anthem dear, as Fraser was saying. We've sung it hundreds of times for the Queen and for the Olympics at Canada House and the Grey Cup, the Winter Classic. You know, so many special events for Canadians, and we were so shocked. And at the time, we froze. We didn't know what to do. You know, you're singing there, you're programmed to just keep on going because it's your anthem. So what do? You know, this happens, and your whole world kind of comes down.
We couldn't hear what he was saying.
I was wondering about that.
He usually starts that verse in French, and you can go back to every other anthem we've ever done. They're all available on YouTube. That's where he starts the French lyrics. You know, we always love to include the French-speaking part of Canada. Remy actually spent some time growing up in Gatineau, but he was originally from Boston, you know, so he's our only American member. But he, took it upon himself to change those lyrics, and he, we saw the video later. I didn't know exactly what happened in the moment, but I saw a piece of paper go up, and I couldn't see what it said on the front, but on the back it said, "United we stand." And I had to look at the big screen, the Jumbotron, to figure out what it said on the front, and it said, "All lives matter." And I knew immediately that, this was a really unfortunate political or personal statement.
And a political statement that the other three guys don't stand for, don't believe in.
Well, there's so many parts to this, right? I mean, and we're going to talk about them in just a moment. There's the changing of the anthem.
Yeah.
There is making a political statement. But right now I want to ask you about the first part of that. When you're a group, four guys who work together, sing together, so many people admire you. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson telling our audience earlier how much she admires you.
We appreciate her. She's helped us, get out to the masses over the years.
But as a group, as a quartet, was there a sense of betrayal when one of your members does something and you're blindsided by it?
Absolutely. There's a whole distrust all of a sudden, a breaking of of a foundation,
of a brotherhood.
You know, we've been going for 10 years doing this, representing Canada. You know, we take that title very seriously. When people say you're ambassadors for Canada, you know, that's a title we cherish. And for something like this to come down, it's pretty harsh. I mean,
we just sang at Her Majesty's 90th birthday at Windsor Castle. You know, everybody was there. Will, Kate, Harry, the whole royal family. They came to meet us on the red carpet. And in the last 24 hours, we've been talking about, man, can you imagine, you know, if he had done something there at that event, it would have been, you know, an international, you know, scandal. You know, in this sense, it's maybe more of a national one, but it's still shocking to say the least, and we're so saddened by what's
I saw
happened.
the picture that you guys, I guess, tweeted out before the game, and you look so happy.
We did.
And you're at field level, and
Yeah,
I don't know if you're sports fans, but you must have been
absolutely.
thrilled to think, man, like, where are we?
Toronto Blue Jay
You know,
fan right
it's
here.
funny because right before the anthem, I looked over to Josh Donaldson and I gave him the head nod. He gave it to me back. I was like, "This is so awesome!"
Yeah.
And you become a kid again because
Yeah.
you're representing your country. You're being there for the love of the sport, and then that happens.
We you know, there's also video that I'm sure will be released shortly of our rehearsal. And there was great cheers after the rehearsal.
Yeah.
And of course, the rehearsal went perfectly as planned, as all those other hundreds of anthems that we've done. There was no piece of paper. There was no changing of the lyrics. It was the standard English and French version that we've always done. So there was no knowledge prior on our parts. He did not ask permission. And in fact, after the fact, said, well, you wouldn't have let me do it. Or, and I don't want to say exactly his words, but if you were a fly on the wall, you would have seen three very, very angry, you know, guys in the room talking to Remigio, and him saying, well, if I asked permission, you would have said no.
Well, I am curious about that. As you left, you know, so you're just beginning to understand what's happened here. Well, you're just beginning to figure out what happened. You probably don't understand what's
shocked.
behind it. So tell us a little bit more about what it was like when you went into an office, a dressing room.
Yeah.
What happened then?
Well, I was walking off and I was just so sick to my stomach. Just walk, and you try to save face. You know, when people are waving at you, you're kind of like. You know, and you're walking through this tunnel, and Remy turns to me. He's like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Actually, I'm not. This is not a good day," you know. And just mixed emotion, you know, from just sadness to madness to just everything. All put. You don't know what you're thinking at the time. Still, I still feel shaky.
And I just want to say again that, you know, we wish that our third member, Clifton, was here to speak as well. He's in the air from San Diego. Victor went to Toronto overnight last night.
Got an hour at home and then realized I had to be here.
Exactly, and I went to Los Angeles right after the game in a car. So he was the only one flying out of San Diego, and the only flight gets in, you know, minutes from now. But we wish he was here. He's in, you know, complete agreement about just the shock and the sadness and embarrassment that we're all feeling.
You guys have been very good to speak to us here exclusively, to speak live. I know you were concerned about going live. I appreciate you have. And one of the nice things about talking to you this evening, one of the tough things is it's been a whirlwind for you over 24 hours. One of the nice things is a lot of people have questions for you. You know, there have been a lot of tweets, and this gives you an opportunity to address some of those. You have already, but I want to ask you a couple other questions after the break. And so we'll be here with more of the Tenors and reaction to what happened last night at the MLB All-Star Game right after this. Welcome back. We're live on CBC News Network, and we're joined by two members of the Tenors, a BC-based vocal quartet. You were hoping for three, but one of your colleagues is on the plane, and you were kind enough to go live now, and we appreciate that. You talked about the reaction you guys had on the field as you saw what your colleague did, and then there was the reaction on social media. I was curious, when you were outside of the public view, at what point did you turn on your phone and realize maybe what was going on out there?
Our phones, unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately in this business, are always on. And so, you know, my usual is to give it to our manager when we walk on. It's just kind of an old tradition, and walk on stage. We do our thing and walk off, and he hands it back. And we're always engaging with our fans on our social media, on our Twitter handles, and everything. I personally I'm not as involved on my own personal accounts, but we have a group account that's very important to us, and so that's how we communicate with our fans. So, of course, we started to hear pretty immediately some of the response, but we weren't even concerned with that. There was something much more immediate to us, which was the energy between the four of us walking back up into the boardroom, the green room that we had. It was a large, beautiful room that Major League Baseball provided for us. We've sung at the All-Star Game in the past in Anaheim a few years ago. We have such great relationships with so many of the great organizations. We've done great NFL anthems,
NHL.
in the playoffs for Seattle and Atlanta Falcons, and the NBA All-Star Game years ago in front of 110,000 people in Cowboy Stadium and millions watching on TV. And so, we were just so shocked, and if there was anyone sitting sort of as a fly on the wall, they would have seen many different emotions come out over that hour and a half that we were there in the room, essentially, talking and maybe arguing at times, and just trying to understand what happened and how that coveted opportunity that we've worked so hard to create was essentially hijacked by one person's beliefs, and it's very hard for us to stomach. I think none of us really got great sleep. It was one of those moments where you wake up in the morning and you say, man, that wasn't just a nightmare, it actually happened, and there has been an outpouring of support, I think, after we made the statement, for people realizing that was not a united message that the Tenors wanted to put out to the world. In fact, it was one person's idea, and unfortunately, it's created, I think, a lot of uncertainty and just a little some confusion out there as to what we stand for and perhaps what he stands for. And I think we're still trying to figure that out. I think. It's going to take a couple days for the dust to settle, but it's been a whirlwind, and a lot of people have been reaching out just to support us and our families. They know that we started in Canada 10 years ago. Our first tour was in Saskatchewan, driving from small town to small town, Bigger, Langenberg, Estevan, all these incredible communities. We didn't even perform in Regina or Saskatoon, so we did 12 little towns in 14 days. And we really earned our sort of 10,000 hours, as they say, that Malcolm Gladwell book that says, get out there, work hard, and it will pay off. And I think that's why we're so kind of shattered at the moment. It's just that all those years of work we saw sort of flash before our eyes and wonder, like, wow, has one person's actions been able to possibly compromise what we've worked so hard to build? And
so I read through a lot of tweets last night and today, so let me quickly throw a few of the sentiments at you, not the literal word for word tweet and respond. And Victor, let me start with this. Somebody shortly after watching the anthem said that what happened there, what your quartet did, was disrespectful, thoughtless, and callous. What's your response to it?
That's mild. I totally agree with it. I mean, there's no excuse for that. Like, I think all of us felt the same, disgust, and I sat there to the wee hours of the night just reading different, even threats and all sorts of things, and it was hard to deal with. We're not used to that. I mean, we're used to just spreading, good vibes to people. Like, our music is everything to us. We want to get back to that.
Yeah, it's inspirational, to a lot of people, right?
Right.
So,
what bothers you the most? Is it the betrayal by a band member, by a member of the quartet? Is it just changing the words of our national anthem? Or is it the specific way it was changed? What is it that bothers you the most?
The anthem, that's brutal. I mean, betrayal's one thing. You could almost get over that. Sometimes that's hard too. But the anthem, it's so treasured, like, for all of us. So That's the tough one for me.
I can only imagine the process that went through last night leading to that statement that you still stand by, that has very, very strong language. One of the things it says is that that Remigio is not with the group for now. So a lot of people are asking the question, for how long?
You know, I don't think we can see ourselves performing with Remigio again, and it's a difficult question to answer so soon after. And I think that we might, take a day or two to
figure things out, But obviously, after such a betrayal, not just to us, to like the whole country, two countries. I can't personally see myself standing on the same stage.
And it's a sad day because our families have been a part of this from the beginning. Victor has a young son named Zachariah who doesn't understand what happened yesterday. He asked his mom, what is Remy holding up? And Zach's been involved in some of our videos.
I walked through the door and he didn't even realize. He was like, "Great job, Dad." I'm like, "Thanks, son." It's that kind of thing. But and you want him to be that naive at that age, But it's having everything affect everyone around you, your fans, your family, and people you don't know. This is a lot of people's introduction to the Tenors. How brutal is that? They don't know us for who we are.
We just landed at the Vancouver airport, and my parents came to pick me up. I don't live in Vancouver anymore, but my parents live here, and my two older brothers live here. And I think our families are so severely affected. They've gotten hundreds of emails. My brother Stu works in media here in Vancouver. He's been getting hit nonstop with questions and radio interview requests and all sorts of things, and just trying to sort of field our phones blowing up, it's just quite unsettling. But we do, this is our livelihood, and we've felt so grateful for this opportunity. Never once taking it for granted, just being incredibly just thankful that all those years of hard work, started to pay off, and we started to become known as the national tenors, and being invited to do the Queen's event and being able to sing for the president at the White House last year on a TV broadcast. We actually feel lucky that yesterday's broadcast wasn't aired in the U.S. And they knew that ahead of time. And we still do those gigs because it's great. We love performing for Canadians. It still goes out to an international audience. There's still, amazing people in the audience. How many? 40,000 people strong. So it's still a great opportunity for us. But we feel like it could have been a much even worse backlash in the U.S., with some of the statements that were made. And that's why, you asked what's the worst, the anthem or the political statements or not knowing, and I think it's all three.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so hard, because that betrayal, how do you ever trust going back on stage, and thinking that anything could happen at any given time? It's just, we can't get our heads around it right now.
Well, we really appreciate you coming here, having the faith in us to go live on CBC News Network, and you certainly have been very eloquent in giving your point of view and answering a lot of questions. So thanks to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.